How do I navigate family who refuse to acknowledge my granddad was a child molester? I'm sure you must have a lot of pent-up anger and feel a need to ventilate your thoughts. You'd have every right to be upset and hurt about this. So why don't you speak to those you know were molested first? And see how they feel about you mentioning it openly within your family? The most important is the healing of those people after all. Wouldn't you agree? No. Don't ever do this. If someone posted on a comment on FB that I was molested by my uncle, I'd die. It's not your story to tell. I see some people claiming you will protecting people by exposing him, but I don't see how. As he is dead, he can no longer hurt new victims. His old victims, however, might not be in a place in their recovery where they will be able to handle people publicly discussing their trauma. By exposing this monster of a man, you also expose the pain and trauma of his victims. Perhaps speak to some victims instead of going nuclear and plastering their trauma all over social media. You shouldn't reveal someone else's trauma without consent. You can't tell your female cousin the complete list of his victims. Her brothers have a choice on whether to discuss that with her. You could reveal the dead oldest son was a victim and the grandmother knew. And your mother knew, hence your distance from your grandfather. Other people can chip in with their own stories if they want to. This is too complex. Each victim needs time and space to deal with their own trauma. It's not for you to drag this shit into public view. But when in private with your family, you're within your rights to call people out. Even so, you won't win against those who take his side. I speak from experience. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. Take care of yourself and leave toxic folks behind. Piss on his grave? As others have stated, the man is dead. But his victims aren't. He was clearly an awful individual. But now that he's gone, exposing him might sadly do more harm than good. Talking with his victims about it seems like the way to go. Don't. He deserves it. No doubt. But this isn't your story to tell. God fucking help any well-meaning dummy that would have taken my story and posted it to social media before I was ready to share it myself. If someone in your family gets her face burnt and looks ugly, and you see everyone around him pretend everything to be the same as before, why do they do it? The comfort of familiarity is far greater than the tides of truth to bear. If the victims are keeping quiet, why are you being the justice police for them? Don't purpose your justice when you are not even a victim and navigate by being a support to them. Justice to them is dead with him. Well, you should applaud TF out of your dear mother for protecting you and your bro. Imagine the trauma you could have went through. Sorry, no advice. Maybe it's best you stay away. For lots of people, the truth is not something they can live with, as to accept it has implications they can't handle, so they create a new reality based on denial and blocking it out. It doesn't mean they don't know what you know. They just process it in a different way. Try not to take that as a lack of caring. They were all victims of his manipulation and control too, in their own way. You aren't in control of other people. And this need you have to have this thing validated doesn't seem to come from a desire to help them heal as much as your anger. So in my opinion, stay out of it. When people are ready to deal with it, they may reach out for help from someone. As you, Runer Spies, said below. How sure are you? That's very much worth assessing before proceeding. Then, contingent on the answer to that and assuming you wouldn't be betraying someone's confidence directly, i.e. you were told by someone who asked you not to tell, I think you'd be within your rights to say, This man was abusive and no one talks about it. You don't need to go into details. And you should never name victims. But it'd be okay to state it and stand your ground. Just don't get hooked in trying to offer proof, because that will inevitably fall back on the victims, which should not occur, and fully expect that it might torpedo your relationships with your family. Even the ones that know and agree with you. For rocking the boat. I was abused by a family member. If someone had said, this person was abusive, I won't say more. But I won't stand by and pretend their legacy was other than it was. I would have been so grateful and thought them brave. And frankly, doing so might liberate your relatives to get help and support if they haven't. The complicit silence of families is deafening. And a lot of people are demurring or making excuses in the other comments. Or saying you'd be protecting the victims not to say anything. But you can do both. You can protect the victims and state the facts. It's a hard line to walk, though. So make sure you have the fortitude to be doubted and challenged forever and to never betray the victims before going through with it. If you don't do it. Never, ever. Name the victims, say you know it for a fact. Again, assuming you do. If you don't, do not proceed. But the details are not your story to tell. People will doubt you and judge you. But it will create a distance between the memorial mishegas and the truth. And people might discuss it more on their own. And you get to not be complicit in secrets of abuse. Which seriously compounds the harm of the abuse itself. Good luck. As someone who did this, but with someone who is still living, first take care of you. And know that the backlash on you can be severe. In my case, I do believe it was worth it. I understand that people believe because he's dead it doesn't matter anymore. But a secret this big means there's an awful lot more secrets that are still in the dark. And it is likely that many of his victims are further victimized by the praise still heaped upon him. It's more and more reminders that they need to shut up, they don't matter. That being said, also protect the victims in another occasion. I have privately told people that I will not participate in memorializing a man that was a sexual offender who went unpunished, and said it almost exactly like that. I didn't offer up names or details. Just that fact. And it may be that some victims are just waiting to speak up. To not be the only one who wants to say something but can't. It's not an easy decision. But I don't regret the times I've spoken up. At all. You're trying to force people to think like you. This never works. He's dead. He can't hurt anyone else. His past victims need to come to terms with it on their own schedule. Not yours. As frustrating as it is. It's very hard. Borderline impossible. And may not be worth it. Conservative, tightly knit families are willing to ignore really shitty things. They will protect these ties because family is always here for you, and this loyalty ties them. Even to crimes. I flat out asked my mother what she would do if at a family reunion she had to sit next to a rapist. And she said she would deal with it for the length of the meeting. Stirring shit will earn you ostracism. I'm not saying it's right. Just describing reality. Keep in mind that many people who will scream that you need to fight these shitty family members too. The bitter end may not have these ties because they have fought these or similar problems to the bitter end, and got severed themselves. Alternatively, people are still posting memorial bullshit. Less than. Facebook delenda est, get the fuck off Facebook. Would you want to see your relatives assholes as they compete for the wettest fart? Same principle. TLDR. How many therapists does it take to change a light bulb? 1. The light bulb's the one that needs to change. You can't change people. Unfollow those who make those posts. Then you don't see them and getting reminded of him. Do what you think is right. In my opinion, someone like that isn't deserving of a good memory. I would tarnish it. But you do you. Out of curiosity, if he raped all his male children, then he raped your dad and uncles as well. Right? Do they deny they were raped and still agree that his father had sex with them? In my opinion, society progresses one funeral at a time. Good thing that monster is dead. But there's no justice in exposing some dead guy and outing rape survivors in the process. Edit. Just read the other replies and I can't believe how many people are saying you should expose rape. Victims. WTF is wrong with all of you? Delete them from your life.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. TooAfraidToAsk is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.